What's going on, everybody? Welcome on and all. My name is RJ Ochoa. I butchered that intro. I have no idea what's going on. Let's try it again. What's going on, everybody? We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited to talk about our Dallas Cowboys, who improved to 3-1 on Sunday afternoon with a destruction, a demolition, a good old butt kicking of the New England Patriots, 38-3, the final score. This is, of course, our live post-game show here at Blog of the Boys, which you can watch on any number of platforms. You can watch on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, the Blog of the Boys Twitch channel, or the Blog of the Boys Facebook page. Wherever you're at, please subscribe, please like. If you're watching after the fact, shame on you. But if you are with us live, welcome. We are going to talk about everything that we saw on Sunday. Going to hand out my stock report, which I've already written for you. It's available at blogandtheboys.com very shortly. It was a fantastic day for the Cowboys, mostly stock up. This is a show, though, that we do live, but sometimes people come in after the fact. You can catch the rewatch on any of the platforms that I mentioned. You can, of course, catch the audio version of the show on the Blog of the Boys podcast network. Make sure you're checking out blogandtheboys.com all the time for the latest and greatest in the world of the Dallas Cowboys. But if you are with us live, specifically if you are watching on YouTube, we have a poll up for you, which we have after every Cowboys win, and that is voting on our star of the game, our award potential winners tonight. DaRon Bland with those 2 interceptions, Jake Ferguson, who set a career high in both receptions and receiving yards for the Cowboys, and Leighton Vander Esch. Those are the names that came to mind. He obviously had the scoop and score touchdown, or someone else. If you want to do some sort of write-in ballot, that is up to you. Again, make sure you're subscribing here to the YouTube channel if you are voting in that. My name is RJ Ochoa. If you didn't know, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at RJ Ochoa, or on TikTok, rj.ochoa. So let's get to it. The Cowboys, what a win. What a fantastic win. A great day, kind of the perfect win that we all really needed coming off of last week. Last week was very frustrating and very upsetting. There's no doubt about that. Nobody's going to hide from that. We've been just kind of really frustrated for the last 7 days as a result of it all. And this has been a really kind of stressful, kind of build up to this game. As Joe notes in the chat here, the Patriots had the Cowboys number for so long, and they lost Super Bowls to the Giants and Eagles, so I hate them, and I'm glad that we punished them. This was the first time today on Sunday that the Cowboys ever defeated the New England Patriots at home, led by Bill Belichick. Now, you can play this game a number of different ways. The first win the Cowboys ever had at Texas Stadium was against the Patriots. But in terms of the Bill Belichick-led Patriots, the greatest coach to ever be in the NFL, the Cowboys had never beaten him with the Patriots in their own home building. They got their first win over the Bill Belichick Patriots, 2 years ago when Dallas went to Foxborough, and obviously CeeDee Lamb had the walk-off touchdown. And that game, that was kind of this awesome moment, I think, for all of us for this reason that Joe brought up. It was this kind of, getting the monkey off your back sort of thing. We finally beat Bill Belichick. And obviously the Patriots have kind of been a different group since Tom Brady left them, and we don't have to talk about that aspect of things. But this felt like you're supposed to go kick the crap out of them, Cowboys. These aren't the Patriots of old. And yeah, it's cool to be able to say this, but you're supposed to do this. And so it was awesome to see the Cowboys kind of live out, that expectation. I think we were afraid to say out loud that we expected that because of what happened last week. But on the subject of kind of how bad of a game or bad of a loss it was for the Patriots, if you did not see this on the Fox broadcast, or you did not hear it or whatever, we have to say this because this is important. All right. Anytime you can get a shot at Bill Belichick and the Patriots, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, in the wild card round of the playoffs, the Cowboys knocked Tom Brady into retirement. Well, on Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys handed Bill Belichick his worst loss ever. EVER. Bill Belichick has been coaching in the NFL for like 5,000 years, and he has never been beaten worse than he was on Sunday afternoon by our Dallas Cowboys. What a cool thing. And I don't care that it's not Tom Brady, that it's not, Gronk and again, the Patriots of old. This is cool. I'm putting this one on the mantle. Greg Olsen had this big old speech about Hunter Lipke and the football he's going to put on his mantle. I'm putting this on the mantle. This was epic for the Cowboys. Once again, though, a very, very cool thing. But let's get to your comments. We do have my stock report, obviously, to get to. John D. talking about the star of the game says it's DaRon Bland. I agree with you, but this is a democracy around here. We'll take the votes and see what they have to say. Brian, of course, has anything but Bland. Very well said. Let's see here. Jason says, good bounce back win from the Cowboys. Well, the defense, red zone offense still needs work. Like I said, mostly a stock up day for the Cowboys, but the stock down definitely is the red zone. John says, after years of suffering against them, we retired Brady last year and Del Belichick, his biggest ever defeat. Pedro says, 35-point loss is the largest in Bill's 29-year career. Yes, very awesome day. The Wright family says, defense still can't stop the run of the offense, was 1 for 4 in the red zone. Sad, same old Cowboys. The reason I wanted to lead with the Bill Belichick thing, and I saw Tom Downey, a great friend of mine, great friend of Blog on the Boys, obviously does an incredible job on YouTube with the Cowboys Report. Everybody go subscribe to him. Tom tweeted this out. If you're finding a way to be mad about the Cowboys handing Bill Belichick the greatest defeat he's ever experienced, maybe, take a step back and just take a sip of perspective. All right. Now, I'm not saying that we can't, sit here and criticize things that warrant or are deserved of criticism from the Cowboys. But to say something like same old Cowboys, they just beat the greatest of all time, worse than anybody literally ever has. So you're allowed to kind of feel pumped up about that. Although, again, we can definitely talk about the things that merit discussion. As noted, Mark says stock down. Mike McCarthy play calling in the red zone early in the game. No read options, no I formations. It did seem like they kind of stabilized there. But again, not a great game from the offense in that respect. And here's the thing. The offense sputtered. It was like somebody learning to drive stick, which I don't even know how to do. But, I know all the cliches about it, right? It was like somebody learning to drive stick. That's how the offense was, just kind of stopping and starting and sputtering and things like that. And they still won 38-3. That's really incredible. William says, smash that like button. I'm not going to disagree with that. If you are watching on YouTube, if you want to smash that like button, that only helps us. So thank you very much to those of you who not only do that, but also advocate for others as well. That really, honestly, I know we have a lot of fun around here. That means a lot to me. So thank you, William, and everybody else. Anthony, thank you for the super chat. Says, hope Dowdle's okay. Showing Dallas he's our true number 2 running back. Turpin and Deuce are the mighty mice getting yards. Hunter the muscle at the goal line. Zeku, I know you're saying it in jest. It was cool to see Zeke back, obviously. Pollard's still the guy. Orale, Cowboys. Wasn't it funny, by the way, that everybody talked about, like, oh, what are the Cowboys going to do down near the goal line without Zeke? And I know I've talked about this before, but we all talked about, well, they're going to have Hunter Lipke be that option. And he literally had his first touchdown on the day that Zeke Elliott was back in the building. Very, very funny indeed. Perry Peters, think of the super chat, says, well. I don't know if you have another comment, Perry. I'm looking for it. But well, indeed. Rick says that Hunter should be the team's goal line back. Kevin says the real test is next week. That's right. The Cowboys' next game, in case you did not know, is on the road against the San Francisco 49ers, the undefeated San Francisco 49ers, who struggled a little bit with the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday. I don't know if that made any of us feel a little bit better, but either way, it is one of the bigger regular season games, certainly one of the biggest October regular season games for the Cowboys in quite some time. We'll see if the Cowboys are going to want to stay in California. That game is in San Francisco. They are in Los Angeles the next week on Monday Night Football against the Chargers. So the world's not going to get to see the Cowboys. The world that doesn't, because the Cowboys are already broadcasted to the world. Cowboys are on primetime next 2 games is my point before the bye. So you get to enjoy all of the red zone action the next couple of Sundays, actually next 3 Sundays. So kudos to all of us. Anyway, back to the comment section. We've got Tigra here who says the Cowboys have the 2 best ball hawks of the NFC East in Diggs and Bland. Let's go ahead and start this. And again, I do think that Deron might be the eventual star of the game here, but Deron Bland leads our stock report. What a great game. And I'll be honest with you, in case you don't read my articles at Blog on the Boys, what the hell? But beyond that, when we talked about Deron Bland last week in the stock report, and we talked about it here on the show as well, he was a stock down for me. And obviously it was a tough game for the Cowboys. And we talked about this, right? You and me, all of us, we said it's kind of unfair. It's not maybe unfair is not the right word, but it wasn't totally fair to say stock down because he had to all of a sudden kick outside in the aftermath of the Diggs injury. But he didn't play well against the Cardinals. Well, he fixed that on Sunday against the Patriots. 2 interceptions for Deron Bland. That's 3 on the season, 8 in his NFL career so far, which is just incredible. And I think really kind of justified or solidified the belief that we've all had that he can be that guy to step up. And I don't mean to forecast too far into the future. And obviously it sucks that Trayvon Diggs is not a part of things anymore this season, but I don't know, and none of us know what's going to happen with Stephon Gilmore and his future with the Cowboys. But at the very least, it is very exciting to know that the Cowboys have for the foreseeable future as far as outside corner options, because this has kind of thrusted Deron Bland into that role, obviously. They've got Diggs and Bland and figure things out in nickel. Izzy Mukwama, who knows? Again, not trying to fast forward through the season, but that is so cool. DaRon Bland was awesome, was amazing, and really just kind of exactly what the Cowboys needed from him in this particular game. So kudos to him. Kudos to DaRon Bland. Like I said, leads our stock report. Next up for me, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb had his first touchdown reception of the season on Sunday, and it was a beauty. Obviously, Dak Prescott went right at the Patriots after Christian Gonzalez left. We hope, obviously, all is right with him. But kind of a somewhat quiet day for CeeDee in like an overall, perspective. I mean, not going to win you your fantasy league this week specifically, finished with 4 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. So, but still, I mean, the reliability to say, all right, you know what, Christian Gonzalez is out. Let's go press right there. And for CeeDee Lamb to be able to come up so clutch is great. And really kind of funny how that wasn't a red zone touchdown, and the broadcast obviously talked about that. But it's, again, not a big body of work from CeeDee in this game, but it's so awesome how on a moment's notice he can be called upon and go deliver. But to Kevin's point about CeeDee not having a great performance overall, that is because Bill takes away your best weapon and says win. Yeah, the Cowboys did kind of, the Patriots did kind of take away Bill Belichick. Goodness gracious, I'm so excited I can't get my words out. The Patriots did kind of take away CeeDee Lamb. Jacob says NFC defense of the week, Bland, RJ. We'll see. Micah Parsons is coming off of an NFC Defensive Player of the Month award. I would imagine that DaRon Bland is going to be in the running for NFC Defensive Player of the Week this coming week, but we will see about that. Mark says stock up Jake Fergs, take the big hits and making catches. Might as well get to him. I do have Jake Ferguson as a stock up for me. Goodness, let me take a swig of the blue Kool-Aid that I'm drinking here. All right, let me calm down and get my words straight. Stock up for me, Jake Ferguson finished the game with 7 receptions for 77 yards, a nice 777 in that sense. Shout out to my family friend, David. You know who you are. Those are both career highs for Jake Ferguson. And that is, had the big catch that we all obviously saw, really kind of developing into a preferred weapon of Dak Prescott. And what's more is didn't just have 7 receptions for 77 yards. We've got quad 7s because he caught all 7 of his targets. I mean, so again, in the sense of Bill Belichick, vanquishing CeeDee Lamb, he did still have 6 targets, but very clear and obvious that Dak Prescott is comfortable with Jake Ferguson. We know that's the case. I do not mean to take anything away from Dalton Schultz. I certainly do not mean to take anything away from Jason Witten, but the tight end is just a position that Dak Prescott tends to lean on. We know that. We've seen it over the course of his entire 7-year and change career. Jake Ferguson now, the obviously primary beneficiary of that. Good for him. I mean, really great. It's one thing to be in that role, but it's another thing to take your opportunities and succeed with them. And Jake Ferguson certainly did that. So huge stock up from me, huge stock up from all of us. Shane says, Ferg's play just solidifies my opinion on not understanding why Dallas was trying to force the tight end pick in the draft. I think, this is a horrible example because he didn't catch it, but the catch that that Luke Schoonmaker almost had early in the game is maybe the reason why, because if you can get that elite, dynamic, game-changing tight end, no offense to Jake Ferguson, he's not that. And I'm not saying that Luke Schoonmaker is Travis Kelce or George Kittle or something like that, but if you can get that can really unlock your offense. So I get, on one hand, kind of, reaching for that, but there's, no doubt that it was a reach. And we're early into Luke Schoonmaker's career, but I think that's the thought process there. Timothy says RJ is thinking ahead to next week, which is why he can't get his words out. Yeah, that's definitely what's happening here. Let's keep moving on. Angelo says Ferguson's game was nice, but let's not forget McEwen's hustle on the fumble recovery. I did not forget, Angelo. Don't worry, because I also have Sean McEwen as a stock up. Like Tyler Biadasz in weeks 1 and 2, recovering fumbles. Sean McEwen, Kevontae Turpin has this amazing run. We're all celebrating. It's good times. Can't wait to go listen to RJ live on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel right after the game. We're all going to celebrate. And then Kevontae Turpin fumbles. Oh, crap. This is terrible. Well, shout out to Sean McEwen, man. Hustling and bustling his way down the field and recovering the fumble. Now, I don't know that it was, a game-saving fumble, right? The game was well in hand at that point. That doesn't take away from it, but that's the difference. That's what we want to see. That is what obviously coaches love to see. If you hustle like that, you can save things. And we talk so much about regression to the mean and turnovers and things like that. And sometimes there are teams who don't turn the ball over a lot in a given year, right? And the next year you see it kind of regress to the mean. That's where the expression and the mathematical idea comes from. But you can kind of make your own luck to a degree, right? If you are hustling. You are going to find yourself around the ball in both positive ways, right? If you're on defense and there's a tip ball or whatever, you're going to be able to pluck that thing out of the air. Or if you're on offense and something happens, if somebody does have an oh crap moment, you can be there to save the day. So shout out to Sean McEwen for saving the day. Good on him. I want to hit this comment from Loco. It is self-serving, but it's a great point. Loco says, hit the like button, pay your algorithm tax. Here's the thing. If you like watching Cowboy stuff on YouTube, and there are so many incredible content creators. We mentioned Tom Downey, the great Bach Lombardi, Skywalker still. I mean, the list goes on and on. Law Nation. There's so many wonderful Jeff Kavanaugh, people that do great work here on YouTube. Obviously, we're on Twitch and Facebook right now. But if you want those videos to populate in your feed, liking this video does support that idea in your algorithm. So you're really helping yourself here. It's really my point. But anyway, Mark says, stock up Dak. Let's not forget about Dak. High completion percentage, no turnover. Dak finished the day 28 of 34, 261 yards, had the one touchdown, obviously, to CeeDee Lamb, took 3 sacks. I'll be honest, I don't have Dak in my stock report this week. The idea of the stock report to me has always been your stock has to improve, your stock has to decline. That's why you're moving up or down. This was just kind of a par for the course day for me for Dak. A really efficient day, to your point. Not a bad, performance by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't feel like, oh, Dak didn't elevate or take a step, so I'm not having him on the stock up. But it was kind of what we expected. And so for that reason, I felt like other players, went a little bit further, beyond what we expected or what our expectations are, which is, again, the whole idea of stock up, stock down. But great game from Dak Prescott, certainly as well. Very, very much agreed. Lord says, Victory Polo Monday. That's right. Take a selfie of yourself tomorrow wearing a polo or a hat or a t-shirt, painting your fingernails, a scarf. If you got a koozie on your soda can, whatever the case may be, take a selfie. Tag me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. Tag us at Blogging the Boys. Although on Instagram, we're blogging.the.boys. And we'll share, because we should always celebrate. The Cowboys won. We don't know how many of these we get in a given year, and we should celebrate every single one of them. So Victory Polo Monday, that's the whole idea behind that. But stock up, Sean McEwen, shout out to him. I want to hit some comments before we get back to the stock up. Erica says, oh my gosh, how do you not know how to drive a stick? My whole family does, including my 17-year-old. Erica, thanks for shaming me. I've never needed to, which is, I guess, a blessing for me. But I've never had the desire. I don't know that I've ever had a family member who had a stick shift car that I could have even had the opportunity to learn. So I have a hard enough time with the F1 video games. I play on the controller, not on the simulator, and everybody makes fun of me for that. But tough scene for me. Bad scene for me. Whatever. But thank you for taking a little shot. Loco says Mac Jones ain't that guy. But that ain't our problem, thankfully. Timothy says, don't get me wrong, Niners have it coming. I hope so too. Let's see here. Joe Brooks says Turpin needs to quit fumbling. That's kind of fair at this point. Let's see here. Dad and Chloe Hines, shout out to Dad and Chloe, says we need to utilize Cook more. Stock down Turpin, second game fumbling. I didn't have Cavante stock down. I do have a stock down. Sometimes, when there's a big win like this, I feel like you got to, ride the positivity. So I do have a stock down, but Cavante Turpin didn't make the list. I'm totally with you, though. I mean, the dude's getting limited touches on offense. So if you're fumbling in back-to-back games, it's really not going to help you, help your cause, and not going to find a way for you to ultimately score those points. So, or to get those touches, excuse me. Thank you for the super chat. Risley Bear says, this is our starting line. We cannot depend on Tyron to be healthy. He's a future Hall of Famer, but he needs to be let go. Just keep Terrence Steele in and keep building cohesiveness. Okay, so we can talk about this. So in case anyone didn't see, Tyron Smith did not play, and it was not like last week where he suited up and didn't play. He was inactive. And this was going to happen, right? Like we all knew this, right? Like nobody's saying this sarcastically or facetiously. It's just we're just having a straight up conversation, right? We all presumed that Tyron Smith would miss time this season, and that has happened in back-to-back games. By the way, as I say this, Vincent comments we need to replace Edoga. He stinks. Well, Chuma Edoga had a great game in a general sense. I mean, like given what Chuma Edoga has been asked to do this season, I'm perfectly pleased with Chuma Edoga. Now, if you contextualize it that way, but from a Tyron standpoint, we're 4 games in. He's missed 2 of them. So I agree with Shane here. Shane says, why let go of Smith in the middle of the season? This is something we can bring up in the offseason, but not now, in my opinion. I very much agree with that. At this point, the bet is made, right? Like we have to lie in this, right? Like, and that sounds like it's a bad thing. But yeah, like there's no merit to releasing Tyron now, like just to feel better, I guess would be the objective. But what I do think there's reason to kind of, talk about, or what there could be reason to talk towards, is it might be time to like let go of trying to rely on Tyron at left tackle like all the time. That's not necessarily a responsible way to go about this. Now, and that's just one opinion, right? Like, you could argue the Cowboys seem to be making this argument that they like this. They like, planning on Tyron Smith being available at left tackle. And if he's not, having someone like Chuma Edoga step up. And he did kind of step up. But I think most of us believe the best way forward is to just commit to Tyler Smith at left tackle and have Chuma or whoever you want to have rotate a left guard and have Tyron serve as your swing tackle, right? And maybe that's just how you rock for October and November, and you just get to December and you figure things out. And like, I know that we're tossing out these ideas and moving things around like it's Madden or whatever, and that's not necessarily practical either. But I do recognize, Rizzy clarifies, says, I obviously meant off season, LOL. I just meant general. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like in season, like right now, again, we've got to make this, we got to make lemonade here. But there's, and so now that we've established there's no merit to releasing him this season, I do think there's merit to having the conversation of Tyron, we just cannot rely on you to be there every single week. And by relying on you to be there every single week, we are setting ourselves up poorly, because for all we know, we could literally activate you and not have you play in this game. And yes, we all agree he's given an enormous amount to the Cowboys organization. We wish him nothing but the best, to him and his family and his friends and everyone in his circle, whatever life has for him after football. And I would love for Tyron Smith to play forever, but it is very difficult to rely on him on a week-to-week basis. And so again, no one's saying like, get him off the team, but maybe relying on him on a weekly basis is not a solid plan, given that he has missed time literally every single year that Dak Prescott has been the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. A reminder that Dak Prescott is literally the longest tenured starting quarterback in the NFL. So it just kind of is what it is at this particular point. But I get it. I get the point of frustration, and we'll see how the Cowboys handle it. Now, you can argue maybe the Cowboys tried to get through this game like they did, other games before this, and are going to try to roll out Tyron next week against San Francisco. And obviously that's a big game. But man, now a lot of you are noting his contract and getting structured to how much he plays. And that's fair, right? Like no one's arguing that Tyron is overpaid. I think what we're arguing is that it's difficult. It's difficult to rely on him. And then you have to adjust in terms of your football operation. Nobody's pissed off, I don't think, about the financial side of things. So just kind of is what it is. Let's see here. Jesse says Lipke should get the red zone touches. If we didn't say it already, Hunter is a stock up. You score for your first NFL touchdown. Awesome, dude. Way to go, Hunter Lipke. And seriously, I mean, that's what we have talked about forever. You get down there, and it's not just like, I don't think any of us are saying this, but it's not just I don't think we want to limit Hunter to just getting work at the goal line. He's a weapon. Like we've seen that obviously throughout this entire season. And I mean, it's only 4 games, but he is a weapon that can be utilized on offense. And we've seen the Cowboys utilize to different degrees Hunter, Kevontae Turpin, Deuce Vaughn, obviously Tony Pollard. I mean, they have a lot of options. So you don't have to just, play it cliche and, it's first and goal from the 2-yard line. Let's hand it to him and just kind of shove. We don't have to do that. But yeah, so Hunter Lipke made the stock up list. Now, a lot of you are saying stock down Tony Pollard. I'm fine with the game that Tony Pollard had. I don't know why we feel like this is a stock down. Tony Pollard had 11 carries for 47 yards, averaged 4.3 yards per carry, so over 4, very good. Had 3 receptions for 13 yards. It was kind of a ho-hum day from Tony Pollard, but if I'm being honest, I was very pleased to not see Tony Pollard utilized a lot. I wrote an article last week at Blogging the Boys, talked about it on some shows as well. Tony Pollard entering week 4 of the NFL had the most carries of any running back in the NFL. And Tony Pollard, if we looked at the first 3 games of this season and the first 3 games of every season that Ezekiel Elliott played for the Dallas Cowboys, Tony Pollard had more work through this year's first 3 games than Zeke did through any first 3-game set except for his rookie year. So the Cowboys were utilizing Tony Pollard to this massive degree. And it seems like they shifted down. Look at that, Eric. All right, they shifted down to 4th and maybe even 3rd gear. So I'm very pleased with Tony Pollard not necessarily having a lot put on his plate in this game, because Next week, the Cowboys are going to need Tony Pollard. They're going to need every ounce of everybody they've got, especially not just next week, but these next 2 games are going to be a little bit more difficult for Dallas, obviously, given the quality of the opponents in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Timothy says, stock up TP. Thank you. Let's see here. Kevin says, you are right. We were giving Tony Pollard too many carries. Let's see here. Let's move on. Nicholas, by the way, says Pats are still a solid defense. Pollard was solid, handled what he needed. It's crazy to say out loud, by the way, that the Cowboys have played 4 games, which I recognize is a very small number, but they have played 4 games and they have allowed 10 or fewer points in 3 of them, right? They have played 2 games at AT&T Stadium and they have only allowed 1 touchdown. And it was like a massive, amazing play, by one of the NFL's better young receivers, and Garrett Wilson. Like, think about that. That's pretty stupid when you say it out loud like that. Anyway, Forever DC says, more Gallup, stock up. You know what, Forever DC? I hear you. Stock up Michael Gallup. Now, kind of a quiet day as well. Nothing like earth-shattering from a statistical standpoint. 5 catches, 60 yards. Did average 12 yards a reception, if you can't do that quick math. But more than that, Gallup is back. I am ready to say that Michael Gallup is back. It wasn't just that he had 5 catches for 60 yards. It was that they were 5 physical catches for 60 yards. Last week was the kind of beginning of it. This week corroborated what we hypothesized. This looks like the Michael Gallup of old, the Michael Gallup prior to the torn ACL that he suffered in the penultimate game of the 2021 regular season. I don't know that he'll ever be like the peak version of himself, but he definitely looks like that dude all the time now. And I say all the time now as if it's been like a year. It's been 2 games, right? So let's be very, very clear about that. But he looks like that dude. So welcome back, Michael Gallup. You were missed. We always believed. I know a lot of people had the trade discussion and whatever. That was silly. But Michael Gallup, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you back, buddy. We missed you a lot. Another wide receiver that made my stock up list and was really for 1 play, but I wanted to talk about it. So that's what we're going to do. Stock up Jalen Tolbert, man. Holy crap. What a contribution on special teams. And anytime that happens, anytime you get somebody who's supposed to be like an offensive playmaker or whatever, that has a big special teams moment, the general kind of response is like, that's how you make teams, right? Like if it's in, it says Jake Tolbert, my bad. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Goodness gracious. Sometimes the autocorrect gets us, guys. My bad. Jalen Tolbert. That's the podcast audience didn't know, Loco, Texas. Thanks for pointing it out. Garrett notes, stock down naming players. Guys, look, we have a lot going on after the game ends. All right. It's a hectic process around here. All right. Anyway, Jalen Tolbert is a stock up. Amazing tackle, obviously on the punt. And that has value. That has merit, right? Like you have to be able to contribute because, I know that Jalen Tolbert isn't lighting up stat sheets and he isn't having catches and, touchdowns and things like that, but you've got to find ways to make an impact. And he has done that so far this season. The first game that he made that really big impact was the last one at home, obviously against the Jets when he drew the PI call when Brandon Cooks didn't play. Jalen Tolbert is definitely, I think this one of the best signs that we're seeing from Jalen Tolbert right now is he is finding ways to contribute that aren't obvious because we're just waiting, right? And he had a great reception early in this game too, but we're just waiting for, oh man, Jalen Tolbert, he's going to take off as his wide receiver. He's really becoming this amazing football player, and that is really cool to watch. So kudos to him, kudos to Jalen Tolbert. Very, very cool to see. I have 2 stock ups. Some of you are talking about Brandon Cooks, by the way, and saying stock down. Shane says, yeah, it's not been a great start of the season for Cooks, just being utilized a lot closer to the line of scrimmage than I thought he would. Yeah, I think so too. We all thought that he was going to, kind of be this big, deep bomb of a threat, but do they need that? I mean, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, the Cowboys are playing chess while everyone's playing checkers, but do they really need that right now? Do they need these long bomb of touchdowns? No. And that's not to say oh, this is right and they're doing everything perfectly, but that's not the game they're playing right now. And so you can argue well, then why trade for him? I think they traded for him to have him get open underneath. They traded for him for his veteran savvy. They traded for him because it costed them nothing. They traded for him because it just made sense. And so, yeah, he's not this like burner scoring, 69-yard touchdowns all the time. Nice, I know. But like he is finding ways to contribute as well. And he's mentoring these younger players, which has a lot of added value as well. So I don't think we need to panic about this yet. I know you all aren't, but that's just not the game the Cowboys are playing. I mean, again, consider what I mean. They've blown out 3 of their 4 teams who they faced so far. So they haven't been in a situation where they've had to throw a lot, at least throw a lot down the field. Plus, we're seeing Dak Prescott take all that low-hanging fruit, and that's what they want to do. But I was saying, I have 2 stock ups that I have split in half, kind of like I do with my dogs. I'll break the treat and, give them each one, and they think they're getting one. Either that or they're just like silently judging me. They're like, Dad, we just shared 1 treat. Come on, give us each one. But anyway, I have split 2 stock ups in half and handed them out to 2 different players. The first one, Dante Fowler and Leighton Vander Esch. I mean, whoa, what an awesome play. Now, I remember, I don't mean to do the I remember saying this, I'm really smart thing, but I remember talking about during training camp, I spent a week in Oxnard with my friends from San Antonio, and Dante Fowler really impressed me. And my takeaway at the time that I talked about in different places and wrote about and talked about on social media was the fact that Dante Fowler is like struggling to get on the field, struggling for defensive snaps in a general sense. I don't mean in a literal sense. Really speaks to the quality of depth that the Cowboys have at the pass rusher position. I mean, the fact that he is so good and that they just have so many options is stupid. I mean, it really is. But it's awesome. It's good stupid, right? Like, when you use the word stupid in a good way, it's good stupid. So man, what an awesome hustle play from Dante Fowler, and what a great moment for Leighton Vander Esch. Leighton has really, been in the crosshairs of, speaking of social media, people on the internet, but Leighton had an awesome game and obviously had this highlight of a touchdown. Super cool to see. So just kind of a great, kind of team moment for the Cowboys. So shout out, obviously, to him, shout out to Dante Fowler, and shout out to everybody. And speaking of shout outs to double people, how did we get this far and not mention this yet? Stock up Bryan Anger and Chauncey Golston. Now, obviously we've been on the show since the game ended, so I haven't seen any quote about this, but I would imagine, now look, for my money, Greg Olsen is the best color analyst in the game. I know that people someone thinks everyone sucks, or everyone thinks someone sucks, right? Like, you think there's some people, like, I think Chris Collinsworth's really good. Obviously a lot of you probably like Tony Romo as a color analyst, right? So for my money, Greg Olsen, the best color analyst in the game. Greg Olsen mentioned that on this particular play, the extra point attempt that the Cowboys turned into 2 points, shout out to them, the New England just kind of had everybody on the line. And the verbiage that Olsen used was they were playing it like it was the game-winning field goal that they were trying to block. I would imagine that John Fossil identified this during the week. Because look, we all love bones. I would imagine that John Fossil said, you know what, these dudes, they're getting a little greedy. They're kind of getting a little bit intense with their extra point attempts to block. And so let's bait them in and take advantage. And they did. What a dime from Bryan Anger. What a dime. And Chauncey, and I don't even know who I'm more impressed with. I think like our natural inclination is to be impressed with the punter whenever the punter does something, like generally speaking, because it's the punter, right? Like, oh, the punter doesn't do anything with punt. But Chauncey Golston doesn't play offense. Chauncey Golston isn't used to this. I mean, Chauncey Golston doesn't. How many routes is Chauncey Golston realistically running in practice, right? Like, on some level, Bryan Anger's like tossing footballs kind of back and forth, right? He gets that general mechanic down. But how often is Chauncey Golston getting the ball in his hands to work on this? What a cool moment. This was awesome. I mean, and this was the kind of thing, it felt like the Nashawn Wright recovery for a touchdown after the block punt last year. It's the kind of thing that's just like, it's just your day. Everything's kind of coming up you. And this was one of those moments. It was my day. I'm a Houston Astros fan, which I know upsets a lot of you. Really great day in my household. Tough scene, but thank you to the Seattle Mariners. The AL West, baby, runs through H-Town. But whatever, I'm not here to piss all of you off. Vincent says, here for Anger and Aubrey. Actually, before we get to Brandon Aubrey, Paul, thank you for the super chat, says we were slogging along with the Patriots until that play. I don't know if you're talking about, because I got to the super chat late, maybe the Vander Esch scoop and score. But either way, these were 2 dynamic moments for the Cowboys. So very, very cool indeed. Forever DC, I have to get this one in, says Ghost Joes. So thank you very much. Tim Lowe, by the way, says Chauncey's hitting the jugs machine in practice. Well said. So you all are talking about Brandon Aubrey. I wrote last week that Brandon Aubrey was the first kicker in NFL history, or excuse me, in the Super Bowl era. Different thing. Super Bowl era goes all the way back to 1970. He became last week the first kicker in the Super Bowl era to attempt at least 10 field goals through his first 3 career games and make all of them. All right. He had 10 through 3 games. I know I'm a mess today. All right, like I said, it was a sportsy day in my house. Don't even get me started on the Americans at the Ryder Cup. Right, that started the day off poorly, but whatever. Anyway, but Brandon Aubrey attempted 3 more field goals in this game. 3 more field goals. And you know what? My man, he made them all. All right. He missed the first extra point to start this whole thing off. And he has been nothing but clutch ever since. This dude is 13 of 13 on field goals this year. 13 of 13. We have played 4 games and he is 13 of 13. What a freaking stud. All right. Now I know the MLS has gotten a lot of pump because of Messi and everything, but I might start watching some more MLS just because of Brandon Aubrey. I am that impressed. Forever DC says, man, I wanted to see if he could hit that 67-yard field goal. Garrett says, would have loved or would have liked to see Aubrey kick that 65-yard field goal, even though he likely would have missed. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm kind of glad he didn't, because he probably would have missed it. And then I wouldn't have been able to have said 13 for 13. So I would rather live in the 13 for 13 world than the 13 for 14 world where he barely missed the 60 whatever yard and we had to contextualize it that way. I like being able to say 100%. What a stud. What a baller. I am nothing but impressed with Brandon Aubrey. Speaking of John Fossil, and look, I'm with you. Like I've got the receipts, where I complained about the Cowboys kicking situation. And I don't think that John Fossil's perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect, but they have handled this pretty flawlessly. I mean, like, they pulled Brett Maher out last year. He was wonderful. They were like, we're going to go with Brandon Aubrey. We were like, who is this dude? We were like, go get Mason Crosby. Go get Robbie Gould. 13 for 13 for my man. All right. If you've got an MLS team that you think I should support, I'm open to offers at this point. Joey says Aubrey for MVP. Vincent says absolutely 13 of 13. Let's see here. Joey says, why did we keep Micah in the second half? Because it's a football game and you have to play. I mean, I know that we were, everybody's worried, but it's a football game. You have to play them out. So, I understand the question, but you can't keep everybody in bubble wrap forever. But let's move on. I think we are through with stock. Yes, we've hit all my stock ups. Deron Bland, CeeDee Lamb, Dante Fowler, Leighton Vander Esch, Brian Anger, Chauncey Golston, Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson, Michael Gallup, Brandon Aubrey, Sean McEwen, Hunter Lipke. Time for the one stock down. I'm going to buy you all a minute or 30 seconds. What do you think is I have one stock down. What do you all think it is? Guess time. You all offer your guesses. Please, por favor. Wow, nobody has a comment yet. I gave you 2 seconds and nobody had an answer. What do you think? And actually, maybe it's not even what you think mine is. What should be the one stock down? I know that some of you said Brandon Cooks and some of you said Tony Pollard. It's, I'm not there. Jorge says Schoonmaker. Kenneth Cook says Steele. I don't fault Luke Schoonmaker for not being able to make that catch. I mean, that was a tough catch, but, would have been really cool. Kevin says should be Red Zone and Turpin. We got another, thing for Schoonmaker from Tony. Dad and Chloe Harris. Dr. Gonzo says stock down the entire offense. Dad and Chloe Harris says red zone stock down. William says red zone offense. Paul says red zone offense story. Let's see here. Senor Ray says stock down Jerry Jones for not getting Jimmy J in the Ring of Honor. That's a fair answer. My one stock down is the red zone offense. Not ideal, right? I tweeted something that did not age well. When the game started, I tweeted the Cowboys look like because look, the first offensive drive we were moving and grooving, right? Like everything was kind of clicking. And so I tweeted what I thought. I mean, that's what the platform is for. So I tweeted, man, the Cowboys offense looks pissed off and like they're out to prove a point. Like they're out to prove that, everything they heard all week about the red zone issues was, whatever, right? Like, and that's up to them, right? Like, hey, we could talk about it and then you guys got to go play it out. And then, we learned if we were right or wrong. And guess what happened? They stalled and Brandon Aubrey, the GOAT, got to kick a field goal, but that's neither here nor there as it pertains to this particular discussion. So yeah, I mean, it stinks that the red zone offense is still kind of a thing. They were 1 of 4 in the red zone as far as, the ultimate goal is concerned. And, 2 weeks ago, and it was fair then. We don't have to, We don't have to change what was real then. 2 weeks ago, it was fair to believe, and it remains fair with regards to that game. It was fair to believe that the Cowboys kind of got conservative, and I do think that was the case at the very end, except for the Hunter Lipke touchdown. I think they were like, okay, we got to get one. we have to get one, or else this is gonna suck. Like we have to get one, and they did. So kudos to them. You got on the board. But this is a thing, right? Like whether you think it's overblown, whether you think it's a big deal, like whatever the case may be, this is an undeniable, certifiable, tangible thing. Like it is a thing with real data and evidence and, cause for concern. And cool, you put up 38 points because you had the scoop and score, you had the Deron Bland pick six. You're not guaranteed those things. Obviously, everybody knows that. And you got 2 games coming up against 2 high-powered offenses, and you're going to need as many points as you can possibly get. Like and some of it is okay. It's still early in the season. You're still working through things. Like we're willing to give you a little bit of benefit of the doubt and a little bit of leeway in that sense, but you can't. The Brandon Aubrey thing that I talked about, last week, how he was the first, kicker in the Super Bowl era to attempt at least 10 field goals through his first 3 career games and make all of them. That was very cool. But it was also not cool because to be a part of that statistic, you have to have had that many opportunities. And today, Brandon Aubrey had 3 opportunities, and cool, he made all of them. But as great as Brandon Aubrey is, I think we're all kind of sick of giving him opportunities. We trust that he can handle them, but you cannot keep, you can't keep trading or you can't keep cashing out at field goals. You've got to find a way to get over and get into the paint here. Joey says 3-1 with a bad red zone. Wait till we figure it out. That's a great point too. Like that's the positive spin, right? Like, hey, if you figure this out, whatever. Vernon says the offense can absolutely come to fruition at the perfect time, and I have hope, but the 49ers may be too early. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Again, and I don't ever want to be somebody that leads you all down just one positive avenue and only that, or one negative avenue and only that. I'm so appreciative of all of you who hang out here, because everything has context, right? So we can say this was a great game from the Cowboys, but they had some flaws. We should enjoy it, but there are things to work on. Put on your polos, but know that they're not perfect. They're fallible. They're mortal, just like all of us. They bleed the same blood that we do. And I mean, you can't do this. That's the thing. Like you can't win like this all the time, which sounds silly because you've done it 3 times, Cowboys, but you cannot rely on just suffocating another team at will. You simply can't. So you have to figure out a way to get better in the red zone. It would be hilarious. And we would all gladly eat the crow if next week the Cowboys just went out and were perfect in the red zone, right? Like that would be awesome. Like if they were 4-4 in the red zone next week, we'd be like, awesome. Great time to figure it out. So it is a thing. And even though they were on, kind of firing on all cylinders all the way around, this was a part of their game that struggled. And it's weird that they are so successful in so many different capacities and they struggle in this one area. And there's not even like an obvious thing, right? Like I know some of you think it's the run game and it's Dak and it's whatever. There's not one thing. Like it's not like they can't, they can't move the ball through the air because they're getting down there all the time. It's just for whatever reason when, the song, it's like, when you're going to perform at a wedding or something like that. And you know what I mean? Like you go through the dance and everything, you practice it a million times and showtime shows up and you just like go blank. You just can't do it. Right. Like it's a talent show kind of thing. It's stage fright. They get down there and it's weird. Steve says, this may be wishful thinking, but I like to think McCarthy is holding the offense back to surprise San Fran. I would love that to be the case, Steve, but as much as I believe in Mike McCarthy, I don't believe that myself, but I think you couched it well yourself. Dr. Gonzo says, we're going to find out over the next 4 weeks if the red zone offense needs to be better. That's true. And look, it's super annoying, like beyond annoying, that the Eagles have looked so bad in some ways and that they're 4-0. That annoys me greatly. But that is the hallmark of a great team. And I don't mean to turn this into a complimentary session about the Eagles, but I say that to say the Cowboys have had this big problem. Like, think about this, all right? The point of the game is to score more points than your opponent, right? Like on a fundamental, basic, rudimentary level, if an alien landed here, if they got the one out of the box, the one that we saw on the internet a few weeks ago, the little one, and the alien said, "Hey, I like this game. I'm interested. What's the goal? Like who wins?" You'd say, "Well, the team with the most points." Okay, cool. How do I score points? Well, you either kick field goals or you score touchdowns, but touchdowns are worth, way more points. Okay, well, I want to score as many touchdowns as possible. That's the point of the game. Okay, great. So we've established this is the point of the game. The Cowboys right now in 2023, 4 games in, are very bad at this, right? Like they are very bad at this, like relative to the entire NFL. And they have won one game 40-0. They have won another game 30-10. They won this game 38-3. So they are they are very bad at the thing. Though, like if we were starting an NFL team and I said, like, guys, we need it, we can be great at one thing. What would that one thing be? You'd be like scoring touchdowns, right? Like that's the one thing they're not great at. And nevertheless, they're finding ways to still dominate teams. So that's encouraging, but that won't last forever. And that's kind of what I think the biggest takeaway needs to be with regards to this entire thing. Kenneth says, RJ, how are you a believer in McCarthy? Last week, this week, red zone. Let me take this red zone thing off and get that comment back on the screen. Kenneth, here's the thing. Is Mike McCarthy perfect? Obviously not, right? But the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy, and I think if we acknowledge that 2020 was not a great year, I mean, in a football sense for the Cowboys, that's fair, right? Like if we throw out 2020 because Dak Prescott got injured, and we evaluate from 2021 on, I think that's fair. Only the Kansas City Chiefs have won more regular season games than the Dallas Cowboys. Now, regular season games. Okay, well, I mean, look, it's hard to win the Super Bowl, right? I understand that. But so only the Kansas City Chiefs have won more regular season games than the Cowboys. And I've said these things many times, and so I'm well-versed in them. Last year, the Cowboys went to the playoffs in consecutive seasons for the first time since 2006 and 2007. Last year, the Cowboys won double-digit games for the first time in consecutive seasons since 1995 and 1996. Last season, in the wild card round, the Cowboys beat Tom Brady for the first time ever. They won a road playoff game for the first time since the 1992 NFC Championship game. They did it wearing their cursed Navy jerseys on a grass field, things and elements they supposedly could not overcome. They beat Bill Belichick and the Patriots in Foxborough 2 years ago. They not only beat Bill Belichick today, they handed him the worst loss that he has ever seen in the NFL. So I don't think it's absurd to have a level of belief in Mike McCarthy. Is he flawed? Absolutely. Does he have things he can work on? Definitely. But he has turned this team and this organization into a formidable football culture. They are a trustworthy team. If I asked all of you right now, are the Cowboys going to be a playoff team this year? If you had to pick yes or no, we're saying absolutely. He has turned them into a consistent blue blood contender in today's modern NFL. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. So, okay, we've established that he has done something really great. That enough is, in my mind, enough reason to buy into him. And while I understand and acknowledge that the red zone issues are what they are, he has empowered all of his coaching staff to also be great in their specific elements. We threw flowers, rightfully so, at John Fossil for what he did and how he executed things on the fake today. Dan Quinn obviously needs no introduction. By the way, I talked about this on lots of shows last week. We sit here and we, again, rightfully throw flowers at Dan Quinn. Not a word about Dan Quinn's defense getting run all over last week, but we're here. Mike McCarthy's team just won 38-3, and we're like, oh, well, he sucks in the red zone, so he clearly sucks. It's okay to think that Mike McCarthy is a very good head coach. Like, that's an okay opinion to have in 2023. I promise you. I give you permission. Not that you need it from me. So I think it's pretty easy to believe in Mike McCarthy because I'm 33 years old, and he has done a lot of things with the Dallas Cowboys that for the most part have not been done in my conscious level of adulthood. So maybe you can argue that like, wow, the bar is so low and McCarthy's only clearing that. Well, yeah, but a lot of people have tried and failed at that. And so I give Mike McCarthy all the props in the world for being able to do this. And does that mean that he's the best coach ever? The Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. Probably not, because it's a very, very difficult thing to do. But man alive, if you don't think he's great, and a lot of you have said this in the chat, and you want that dude Sean Payton, who only won today because the Chicago Bears managed to be themselves in the most true and literal fashion of that. I mean, all the dudes that we have lamented the Cowboys for not going over or going for or going with instead of Mike McCarthy have been disasters. I mean, and so yeah, I think it's it's more than fair to believe in Mike McCarthy. At the very least, I think it's more than fair to objectively be impressed with Mike McCarthy. You don't have to, wear an I Love Mike t-shirt on Victory Polo Monday, but he has done a lot of things that a lot of people not only, really never did, but could not ever do. So shout out to him. Shout out to all of us, right? I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, the Cowboys just gave Bill Belichick the worst loss he's ever seen. That's crazy. That's amazing. Our team did that. The team that we root for did that. The team that you get the alerts for on your phone, that team is the one who handed Bill Belichick the worst loss he's ever seen. When Bill Belichick goes into the Hall of Fame, the worst loss ever on his career resume, well, it might be outdone this season because the Patriots are that bad. But either way, the Cowboys have that title for at least 1 week. Carolyn says, I'm concerned because they look so bad against Arizona. You can't forget about it because the Cowboys could be 4-0. They could. That's true. Like, and again, they're flawed. And I promise you, Carolyn, they will lose another game that they should win, right? That will happen. And they will win another game that they're supposed to lose. Based on, the way odds are, actually, we might as well have this discussion, Carolyn. So shout out to you for kind of sending us in this direction. The Cowboys, the odds are now out. They have opened as 3.5-point underdogs on the road next week against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I didn't say that all dramatically to be like, can you guys believe this? No, this makes sense. 3 points, if you don't know, is a conventional kind of home field advantage. So, they're really, the odds makers are kind of really only giving San Francisco about a half point of a favor here. Very, very tight odds, as Paul notes in the chat. It's going to be tough. I mean, this is the first time this season the Cowboys are underdogs. Can Mike McCarthy rally around that? I don't know. But if anybody can, in my lifetime at least, since I've been able to drive a car, an automatic car, to be very clear, he's the guy most well-suited for the job. But okay, so let's kind of wrap this all up. Star of the game, we need to get to that because we haven't, announced that yet. So let's head on over to YouTube. This is only a YouTube thing, so Facebook, Twitch, sorry. But, that should serve as motivation to go subscribe to us on YouTube. With 93% of the vote, I don't think it should come as any surprise to anyone as I buy time to make the little graphic here. Star of the game. I've lost it now. Oh my gosh. The drama here is just intense. Let me just try to point out. Star of the game and spell their name right, not like Jalen Tolbert, is, drum roll please, everybody, Deron Bland. I mean, dude, what an awesome day. I mean, like, you have 2 interceptions, you take one to the house. Deron Bland. I mean, seriously, what an awesome performance. Great job, Deron Bland. Congratulations. You did it. I'll send you a bowl of my wife's chicken tortilla soup. It was awesome last week, in case anybody was curious. So congrats to Deron Bland. All right. Make sure to check out bloggingtheboys.com all the time. We have all sorts of articles coming out all the time, every single day. The latest and greatest in the world of the Dallas Cowboys. Make sure you subscribe right here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel and our podcast network. This show goes up on our podcast. We have 2 different shows each and every single day. I'm on there all the time, obviously. If you think that I'm cool, and you want more of me in your life, interesting life choice, but you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Threads at RJ Ochoa, or on TikTok at RJ.Ochoa. If you want to send me an email, you can do that too at rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to get to those. I don't know if you can hear the dogs barking in the background. I promise I did not split a treat in half and give it to them before this, so they're not pissed off about that. They're pissed off about something else, so who knows? But Victory Polo Monday tomorrow, everybody. Let's enjoy it. I love you all. I hope whatever you eat for dinner, breakfast, lunch, blah, blah, blah. I hope it's amazing. I hope it's delicious. I hope it's nutritious. I hope it puts a smile on your face. You know why? Because you deserve it. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. Cowboys are 4-1. Oh, nope. Spoke too soon. Cowboys are 3-1 with a road date against the San Francisco 49ers this time next week. Cannot wait for it and to see you all afterwards. I love you all. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.